The programme.
First, it's decision day in the extraordinary political row that's blown up over one woman's right to represent the Conservative Party in southwest Norfolk.
Party activists are gathering in Swaffham tonight to decide whether to deselect the high flyer Elizabeth Truss.
Her selection became mired in controversy after it emerged she'd had an affair with a married Tory MP but hadn't told people in the constituency. Since then, the row has boiled up, prompting taunts that local Tories had behaved like a turnip Taliban. Well, Malcolm Robertson is in Swaffham this evening for us. Malcolm, feelings running high then?
They are running high, yes, and in fact they've been running high for 3 weeks, ever since Elizabeth Truss was selected as the Conservative candidate to represent southwest Norfolk at the next general election. Everything seemed fine at that stage, but very shortly afterwards it emerged that she'd had an affair with a Tory MP, and that's upset a lot of local Tories. Not so much the fact that she had the affair, but they were kept in the dark about it. And it's caused a remarkable public squabble between local Tories and Conservative central office, with local Tories accused of living in the dark, and they in turn, those local Tories, feeling that David Cameron is trying to impose his preferred candidate on this constituency.
It's the Norfolk town at the heart of a political soap opera. It was where much of the ITV series Kingdom was filmed, but tonight in Swaffham there's a real-life drama being played out. At the centre of it is Elizabeth Truss. She was selected as the Tory candidate for southwest Norfolk 3 weeks ago, but now faces deselection after it emerged that she had an affair with Tory MP Mark Field several years ago, a fact local Tories weren't aware of when they picked her. But David Cameron is desperate that she survives.
Well, she's an absolutely excellent candidate, and I very much hope she'll be the candidate.
Wealthy landowner Sir Jeremy Bagg takes a very different view. He will speak against her tonight. It's nothing personal, he says. It's just that he doesn't like the idea of Conservative central office trying to impose candidates on constituencies like his. He wouldn't be interviewed today, but he accused the Tory hierarchy of deceit and believes they've betrayed the local party members and Elizabeth Truss herself. The row over Elizabeth Truss has exposed the divisions between Tories old and new. On one side, the traditionalists branded turnip Taliban and Neanderthals by some Tory bloggers. Sir Jeremy Bagg's been the most outspoken. He's an old Etonian and former High Sheriff of Norfolk. Cliff Jordan, a county councillor, has also criticised the Tory elite. On the other side, David Cameron, of course, but there is local support for Elizabeth Truss. County councillor Sheila Hudson describes her as able and bright. That's a view shared by other Tories. Tim Montgomery runs the website Conservative Home.
She's intelligent, independent-minded, in touch with the views of most grassroots members. Unfortunately, she's been caught in the middle of a storm between Central Office and South West Norfolk Conservative Association, which is certainly partly about her private life from past years, but there are many other factors as well, and I hope that they can be put aside and that she can be re-adopted today.
But those criticised in London circles as carrot crunchers and the turnip Taliban don't see eye to eye with Tory high command.
Well, I think that's really gone. I gather this young lady comes from London or was on the London Council or that, and so what she's doing pitched up here in the middle of Norfolk, I don't really know. It's a pity we couldn't have some homegrown or home-produced person who could stand for being MP.
Some have also labelled locals as Neanderthal for not having the wit to Google Elizabeth Truss's name and discover the affair had been in the public domain for years. In Swaffham today, most of the people we spoke to were supportive of her.
If she was good enough to be selected in the first place, I think she's good enough now.
I think as long as she does her job, her private life's nothing to do with it.
If you've got politicians that treat or cheat on their partner, are they going to be honest with us?
But even if Elizabeth Truss prevails tonight, will that be the end of the matter?
Some of the people I have been talking to are utterly irreconcilable. And so if she is reselected tonight, there is an ongoing problem for the South West Norfolk Tories, because I do not understand how these people can work with her and indeed campaign for her in the general election.
There's a huge amount of interest in tonight's meeting. It's pretty quiet at the moment inside Swaffham's Assembly Hall, but it will get very lively later on as Elizabeth Truss fights for her political future.
Well, a few empty chairs there at the moment, Malcolm, but they're going to be filling up shortly. It's going to be getting quite heated. What do you think is going to happen? Can Elizabeth Truss win through tonight, do you think?
Well, Jonathan, I think in political speak, probably too close to call. Now, Chris Fisher, who we saw in that report, who's the political editor for the Eastern Daily Press, and has certainly got his finger on the local pulse, he believes she will survive. But Sir Jeremy Bagg thinks that she probably won't. He's obviously the one who's supporting her deselection. But interestingly, he did make the point to me that if she does survive, he hopes that this will be the end of the matter. A line will be drawn under it and the whole constituency will get behind her as the Tories try and make sure they're a united force heading into the election.
So, Malcolm, does this case have implications for other constituencies in the region?
I think it does. I think the Tories are concerned at what they see as a possible ripple effect, and that could well be the case in central Suffolk and North Ipswich, where Sir Michael Lord is retiring as the MP. Now, they've been presented with a shortlist of 6 candidates, none of whom are local, and I think you could well see the sort of rebellion there that there has been here in Norfolk.
Thank you very much indeed for that. We'll hear more from Malcolm in our late bulletin at 10:30. Well, it is a topic indeed that's divided opinion both inside and outside of the Conservative Party.
If you have an opinion on the rights and wrongs of the row, then get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. It's the usual email address, jonathanandbecky@itv.com. Please remember to include your name and where you're from as well.
Now, it seems the celebrations for their extraordinary F1 win are barely over, but Northamptonshire team Brawn GP have already been snapped up by one of the biggest names in motorsport.
Mercedes is to take a controlling share in the double world champions from Brackley, now to be known as Mercedes GP.
The team principal Ross Brawn is likely to keep his position in the short term, but what of world champion Jenson Button? Well, our correspondent Neil Bradford is in Brackley now. Neil, it has been a quite extraordinary year for Brawn GP, hasn't it?
Yes, what a difference a year makes. 12 months ago, this Northamptonshire team were down and out when Honda announced they were no longer taking part in Formula One. This time last week, this small market town ground to a halt to celebrate their double world championship success. Now, the man who gives his name to the team, the saviour of the team, Ross Brawn, is said to be staying with Mercedes as the German car giant takes a 75% stake in the company. But what of Jenson Button, their world championship driver? Well, a lot of people are saying he's now in pole position to join a British dream team with Stevenage-born Lewis Hamilton.
Brackley has barely recovered from last week's victory celebrations. Today, though, it was the company's success in the boardroom and not on the track that's the talk of the town.
I think it's good news, actually, but it's still a bit of a shock, and we'll just have to wait until we evaluate it.
I'm sure they'll still make lots of money and everybody will keep their jobs, so I suppose that's the main thing.
I think when you've got such a collection of talent and skill in one area, it's foolish to lose it. There's a lot of people who depend on it for their living, and Brackley needs the boost.
Excuse me, can I just ask you what you think about Mercedes?
Give it a miss, thank you. Okay.
Employees at the company's headquarters were less talkative, although many told me off camera they're pleased at the news. Mercedes have taken a 75% stake in the company and will rebrand the team Mercedes GP. Team principal Ross Brawn is expected to remain in his role. His choice of car at last week's victory parade, perhaps a clue to the deal already being done. But the big question is what happens to their world champion, Jenson Button. He's widely tipped to join Stevenage-born Lewis Hamilton at McLaren next season, forming a British dream team.
We know that he visited McLaren, and I think there's a good opportunity that he might have there at McLaren, and it would be a great pairing, two British world champions in the same team together, and that might mirror quite nicely an all-German team with Brawn.
The new Mercedes GP team could involve a partnership with all German drivers.
If a big German company approached it for sponsorship, it would obviously have a conversation, but I think it would probably very much take that on merit rather than kind of its roots.
12 months ago, this Northamptonshire team were under Japanese ownership. They ended the season as British double world champions. Their future now appears to be entirely German. Neil Bradford, Anglia News, Brackley in Northamptonshire.
Now, the